The NBA is officially back with NBA preseason. We just had our first game in Abu Dhabi. It was the Dallas Mavericks against my Minnesota Timberwolves. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, this first quarter of this game was not for you. It was not a good showcase of what this season was about to be about. First off, you had three people score the whole quarter. Three people. You had Luka, who, he shoots his free throws. He had 7 free throws in the first quarter, and he made 4 shots. He had 14 points. At a lot of points, it was looking like he was chucking up threes. And to be honest, the whole team looked like they were chucking up threes. In the first quarter, they shot 10 of them, and they made 0. So, and to be fair, I watched this whole game. I watched fourth quarter, which is the mega garbage minutes when it comes to preseason, and I watched third quarter, which is regular garbage minutes for preseason. When it comes to preseason, the first half is basically all you care about because that's when the starters and the main bench guys play. Third quarter is, the bench guys are starters. They're playing like the whole quarter, and then fourth quarter is guys that you'll never see playing throughout the regular season. So in the first quarter, you have Luka, who is the only guy who scores. He's doing his thing where he's the guy with the ball every time down the court. Every once in a while, Kyrie got the ball going up the court. Kyrie had some nice drives. Luka was, driving to the paint, doing pick and rolls, dishing out to the open guy. But it was just not the Mavs' day. It's preseason. The Mavs played like this was a preseason game, and this was their first game that they've played for 5-6 months. The Minnesota Timberwolves, on the other hand, looked amazing in the first quarter. For some reason, the Minnesota Timberwolves came out looking like they had something to prove. Like I said, I'm a T-Wolves fan. I watched pretty much every game last year, and their offense looks so refined. Last year, it was Anthony Edwards isoing or Cat isoing at the three-point line, which is just a recipe for disaster. But this time it was, dip it to Cat in the post, give it to Rudy Gobert in the post. They do like a spin move or something, and they're passing out. There was actual ball movement and cutting. I did not see much of that last season with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last year, it was horrible watching the Timberwolves at times with how unfluid their basketball was on offense. Now, Anthony Edwards was not playing in this game. He had some right ankle injury, I believe, but let's be real, he's fine. It's just a precaution because he doesn't really need to play preseason. I would prefer him to play preseason, just to get some reps with the guys. But the offense without him looked like they could hold their own, which was another problem. Because last year, if Anthony Edwards wasn't on the floor, the offense was stagnant. And that's a bigger problem with the bench because usually the Timberwolves bench is just horrific. But let me tell you, Shake Milton and Troy Brown and Naz Reid and Kyle Anderson, they were looking solid. And Shake Milton in the first quarter, he was 2 for 2 from 3. He had 8 points. Naz Reid and Troy Brown didn't do much at the beginning of this game. They did a lot more in, the third quarter, fourth quarter, which, doesn't say much. But I really liked how Naz was attacking the rim. Troy Brown, he does his thing. He can shoot. He can drive. He's kind of lengthy. And then Shake Milton, he's shifty. He can shoot threes. Kyle Anderson, doing his slow-mo stuff, doing those slow Euro steps that somehow just disrupt the whole defense, which is mind-boggling. Someone needs to do a study on that. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He played in the place of Ant, and he looked really good. He's going to be great as an offensive weapon for us whenever Ant needs to sit out. And last year, if you would ask me about Nickeil Alexander-Walker, He didn't play very much. He would get minutes, inconsistent at times, but there were always sparks and flashes that Nickeil Alexander-Walker could get some buckets. There's always been that. So I'm glad that this first game kind of showed that. Now to talk about the Mavs a little bit. So the spread was 37-19 in the first quarter. I want to say it was the Minnesota Timberwolves defense because, I'm a Timberwolves fan. I want their defense to be amazing. We have Rudy Gobert, a 3-time defensive player of the year. A guy who I think is still really good at defense. We have Jaden McDaniels, who I think should have got a lot more praise last year for his defensive responsibilities. He guarded every single best player on the opposing team whenever we played a team. Didn't really matter the position unless it was like a center, because then Rudy Gobert would. But any guy that would be on the perimeter, that's Jaden McDaniels' job, and he was terrific at it. So I want to say it was our defense. Our defense was good. There wasn't that many problems. The thing is Luka was slicing and dicing. He was passing, dishing out to the three-point line. He was passing to Grant Williams, who just couldn't knock down any in the first quarter. They were getting a lot of open looks. Well, not a lot, but a decent amount. And the Mavs just looked like a team that was playing preseason, which they should be. Like I said before. Now, there's something really important I want to talk about with the Dallas Mavericks. Can someone explain to me Dwight Powell's role? This is my interpretation of Dwight Powell, what Dwight Powell is supposed to do on an NBA court. So let's look at his strengths. He's athletic. He can finish in the basket. He can finish around the basket, I should say. He's a high flyer. He's good at the pick and roll. So basically, he's offensively good. He's good on offense. I don't understand why he plays center. So when the Dallas Mavericks came out with Kyrie, Luka, Olivier, Maxence Prosper, and Grant Williams, and Derek Lively, especially at the center, for their starting lineup, I was like, oh my gosh, they're finally learning. Because Derek Lively, they drafted him for defense. And Derek Lively, he didn't have an amazing showcase, but I thought he looked pretty good. He was good on the pick and roll with Luka. They're only going to get more chemistry as the season goes on. And it looks like they already have some with the pick and roll lob. He's a big body. He was going with Rudy Gobert, like getting rebounds, defense-wise. He was looking good against Rudy Gobert, who is one of the best centers in the league. He might not be like top 5 anymore or whatever, but he's still one of the best centers in the league, especially defensively and rebounding-wise. Rudy Gobert is elite at those things. So Derek Lively looked great. Because to me, Dwight Powell has been the center / power forward, but a lot of the time center for the Dallas Mavericks as long as he's been there for like 6-7 years. And that's what they're always been bad at, because he is not good at rebounding or defense. I don't think in his career, Dwight Powell has gotten close to like 8 rebounds per game. And he's your center. Yeah, Luka's getting a lot of rebounds, but I don't care. When Russell Westbrook averaged his triple-double in OKC, I guarantee you Steven Adams averaged like 10 rebounds, or at least 8. You can get rebounds. You're supposed to get rebounds if you're the center. And he's a low-post liability when it comes to defense. So I don't want to see a game next year where Dwight Powell is your starting center. Because when that happens, it's a recipe for disaster. It just is. And you have Grant Williams now, who can do the job of Dwight Powell. He doesn't have as much athleticism, but he can stretch the floor, actually. So you have Derek Lively, who, Derek Lively can't stretch the floor, but he's going to be a lot better of a presence on defense in the post. So basically, my final thoughts are, I think the Dallas Mavericks are a lot better than what they played today. It's preseason. When it comes to preseason, you can't take the whole scope of the game into consideration. All you can do is take individual aspects, like how a certain player is playing, like in certain facets. Like, are they shooting the 3 well? You don't really have to look at like effort, Defense, not too much because it's preseason. They're not going to be going all out. I mean, the younger guys and like the guys who are getting less minutes are probably going to go full out because they want a spot. They want to get minutes this offseason. Also, I didn't even talk about Richaun Holmes. I don't want to see Dwight Powell like on the floor. I think this is a hot take. This is a real hot take. I think Richaun Holmes and Derek Lively should be on the floor no matter what before Dwight Powell. Richaun Holmes is a big energy guy. He's great in the paint. And I think he's better than Dwight Powell. Hot take, but I don't know why Dwight Powell's going to be... I don't think Dwight Powell should be getting that many minutes this season. Unless it's at power forward. Which, I don't think he's that great of a power forward because he can't stretch the floor. Which is why he plays center. Seth Curry's going to get more involved with the Dallas Mavericks offense. I thought Dante Exum looked decent. Markieff Morris will be big for them. I really liked AJ Lawson's just going at it and just shooting. Because you're going to need that mentality for his type of game. I also love his shooting stroke. I think if he starts he's going to be very streaky. I think he can be a very streaky player in the league. Jordan Walker, it kind of looked like at times during the last parts of the game, he was just chucking up shots. Jaden Hardy looks like he's improved a little bit. I think he's a perfect backup point guard for if Kyrie or Luka comes out, especially since, he can hold his own. He's not the biggest guy. He's only 6'3". But, he's like 200 pounds. He's fast. He's athletic. He can go in for either Kyrie or Luka. He doesn't have to be that point guard. He can be the one or the two, which I think is great. So, and then Josh Green, he's improved every year he's been in the NBA. So, compared to last year, I think... So, let me backtrack a little bit here. When the Dallas Mavericks traded for Kyrie, they got rid of Dinwiddie, they got rid of Finney-Smith. I think they've replaced them already. I think Grant Williams is a perfect replacement for Finney-Smith. And I think either Jaden Hardy or Josh Green can become your Dinwiddie. So I think the Mavericks are all set now. There's no more excuses for the Mavericks. They had a full offseason with Kyrie and Luka to be able to, practice, be with the team. You have a nice young rookie. Oliver Maxence Prosper, he might show out more than what he did today. So I have decent expectations. I would put the Mavericks right around where my expectations are for the Timberwolves, which is a playoff team. Now, when it comes to the Timberwolves, I'm really excited. Jaden McDaniels, he's still young. He's only getting better. Karl-Anthony Towns looked good. I still have that fear that I think a lot of Timberwolves fans have whenever Karl-Anthony Towns gets the ball and he drives to the paint where it's going to be an offensive foul. But there were a lot of times during this game where he did that, and it was called a block or a shooting foul. So, maybe he's figured it out. Maybe he's doing something a little different. Rudy Gobert, I think he's going to be more fit with this team. He's going to have a lot more chemistry. He's been here for a little bit now, so he should be. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's getting into his own skin. He's becoming the player that I think he's going into his role, which is a shooter. And he's solid on defense. Mike Conley, he's a little old, but he's a veteran. He knows how to play in the NBA. And then when it comes to the bench, we didn't see Ant play, but he's Ant. He was terrific in Team USA over the summer, and I have no doubt that he's going to be an all-star. So when it comes to the bench, I really like the bench. Whenever the bench came in last year, I was always worried, but I think we are still lacking the point guard for the bench. Jordan McLaughlin, though he is loved by Timberwolves fans, we can get better in that position. Naz Reid, if you don't know about Naz Reid, when it comes time for Sixth Man of the Year awards coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. Naz Reid's the real deal. Shake Milton, he's streaky. He can be good for us. Kyle Anderson, a veteran. Troy Brown, I'm excited for him. Wendell Moore, sorry. Wendell Moore, hopefully he's improved. Luka Garza, he's improved. He's always grinding. I'm just really excited for this Timberwolves team. I think we're going to be a lot better than last year. Hopefully we have Cat and Ant for a full season this time. And, let's just see how the preseason goes. They play again Saturday. Let's just see how it goes.